Welcome back to a new episode of Neverland Syndrome. In today's story, we explore the rain-slicked streets of Veridia. And I have to say, looking at the source material, Veridia feels less like a city and more like like a socioeconomic diagram someone brought to life. You've got the Spire class up in the clouds, all polished marble, investment portfolios, people who literally never touch the ground.
Right, and then you have the bottom layer.
Just desperation, really. Humanity stacked on top of itself.
It is a very stark setup. And usually when you see a setting like this, so stratified, so oppressive, you expect a story about, a revolution.
With torches and pitchforks.
Exactly. You expect the bottom layer to just burn the top layer down. But what's so interesting about this file is that our protagonist, Leo Vance, he's not an arsonist. He's more of an architect, or maybe a re-architect.
The text calls him a ghost in the machine and a sculptor of perception. Which, let's be honest, sounds a bit pretentious for a guy who is essentially a thief.
Well, is he?
Is there a real distinction here? Or is sculptor of perception just a fancy way of saying professional liar?
I think that is the central question of his character. The distinction, I think, lies in the target. A common thief steals your wallet because they want the money inside. Leo Vance steals your trust. He wants to move you like a chess piece. He doesn't just want the loot. He wants to rewrite the reality of the people he's targeting.
So he's hacking people, not system.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it alone. He runs Vance and Associates, which is probably the most corporate-sounding cover for a criminal enterprise I ever heard.
Right.
And he has a team. Maya, who is this digital fabrication wizard, and then Benny,
The former stage actor.
the hulking former stage actor who handles the physical side of things.
I really want to look at the Rustin job because the notes frame this as almost the tutorial level before the main event.
Yeah.
So Rustin's a slumlord, he's hoarding water rights, just classic villain behavior. But what jumped out at me wasn't the heist itself, but the costume Leo chooses.
Oh.
He doesn't go in as a cop or a gangster, he goes in as a bureaucrat.
An investigator from the Federal Integrity Bureau, the FIB.
Which doesn't exist. It's a completely made-up agency.
But that's exactly why it works.
Okay.
I mean, if he walked in with a police badge, Rustin calls his lawyer. If you walked in with a gun, Rustin calls his security.
But a generic federal investigator with a clipboard.
That triggers a very specific, almost primal fear in white-collar criminals. The fear of the audit, the fear of paperwork.
It's weaponized boredom. The source even mentions Leo using a voice of weary disappointment. He isn't threatening to break Rustin's legs. He's threatening to tie him up in litigation for a decade.
And that's the psychological insight.
Yeah.
He offers Rustin a way out of settlement. So Rustin writes a check for 200,000 crowns, thinking he's bribing a corrupt official to make the whole problem just go away. He feels relief. He thinks he won.
But the money's already gone. Maya wrote 50 grand to the pipe fund for the dry sector, the rest to an orphanage and a clinic, and they keep just enough to keep the lights on. It's effective, sure, but it feels small scale. It's local charity work. The main narrative really kicks in when the stakes jump from fixing pipes to, well, changing the world.
And that's when Sasha Reed shows up. She's not a mark. She's a client. And she points Leo toward the Spire and a man named Julius Dorian.
And Dorian is not just a landlord.
Oh, no. He's a tech titan.
Yeah.
He basically owns the city's infrastructure, and he has something that belongs to Sasha's family.
The Kaviex prototype data crystal. I looked into the specs on this thing. It turns salt water into hydrogen fuel with 90% efficiency.
90%.
That's not just a battery, that's the end of scarcity.
It's the end of the energy market as we know it. I mean, if you have that kind of efficiency, energy becomes virtually free.
Yeah.
If Dorian patents this, he becomes the gatekeeper of human progress.
He can drip feed the future to the highest bidder.
Exactly.
So Sasha wants it back because Dorian stole it from her father. Simple enough. But the problem is, the Spire is a fortress. We're talking biometric locks, pressure-sensitive floors.
Right. Floors that detect weight variances of a few grams. AI laser grids.
You cannot break in. It is a suicide mission.
Physically, yes. You can't beat the building. So Leo looks at the schematics, and he realizes he has to attack the only part of the system that can't be patched.
The human element.
The human element.
And this is where the plan goes from just clever to, frankly, disturbing. Leo finds out that Dorian's daughter, Elena, is a widow. Her husband, Captain Alexei Reed, who is Sasha's brother, died in a covert op 3 weeks ago. Body never found.
And that body never found is the narrative gap Leo needs.
He decides to become Alexei Reed.
It's a resurrection con.
And I have to pause here because the level of violation is It's off the charts. It's one thing to trick a greedy landlord. It's a whole other thing to gaslight a grieving woman into thinking her dead husband has come home.
It's a massive ethical red flag. Benny does the prosthetics, the scar, the jawline, but Leo has to inhabit this man's trauma. He reads his letters, he learns his limp.
We usually root for the protagonist, but Leo is crossing a serious line here. He's manipulating grief. He has to walk into the spire, interrupt this dinner between Dorian and Elena, and perform a miracle.
And that dinner scene is just so tense. You have Elena, who the text describes as a sculpture of grief, and she basically shatters when she sees him.
She wants it to be true so badly.
Of course. But Dorian, he's the obelisk of control. He hated Alexei. He is suspicious from the second Leo walks in.
He's looking for the lie. He's studying the micro-expressions.
But Leo uses the trauma card perfectly. He claims he was captured, that he escaped, that he's just tired of fighting. He uses silence and these vague answers, which Elena just interprets as pain.
But then something happens. The con starts to bleed into reality. Elena accepts him, but she notes that he's different. She says he's softer than the real Alexei.
And that's the irony of the imposter, isn't it? The real Alexei was a soldier hardened, probably a bit cold. Leo Vance, the criminal, is actually more empathetic.
So he starts absorbing the guilt of the deception. He realizes he isn't just stealing a crystal, he's stealing Elena's closure. He's reopening a wound just to get access to a lab.
And yet he commits. He has to.
But he doesn't get access to the lab by charming Elena, and that's what I found so surprising. He gets access by impressing Dorian.
The only language Dorian speaks. Competence.
Yeah.
During a tour, Leo, as Alexei, fixes this engineering bottleneck in the fuel systems.
Right.
He proves he has an intellect, not just muscle.
Which plays right into Dorian's ego. He thinks, finally, someone in my family who isn't useless. He hands over the clearance. So the heist is on, and I love the contrast here. We have all this high-tech surveillance from Maya, but the actual break-in relies on these almost theatrical tricks.
It's a mix of eras. He uses synthetic fingerprint gel for the scanners, which is cutting edge, but for the pressure plates,
Marbles.
he rolls out weighted marbles to displace his mass. It's just physics. It's a stage trick.
So he dances through the lasers, he beats the sensors, he reaches the inner sanctum, the crystal is right there, this pulsing blue heart of the future. He grabs it, and then the doors slide open.
And it's not the police.
It's Dorian. And he's not even surprised, he's clapping.
Yeah. This is the twist that just redefines the antagonist. Dorian knew. He tells Leo, Alexei had a twitch in his left eye when he lied. You don't. You're better.
He knew he was a fake, but he let him get this far because he was auditing him. He was testing his capabilities.
And then comes the pitch. Dorian doesn't call the guards. He offers Leo a job.
You want the crystal? Take it. Work for me. He offers him a canvas beyond his wildest dreams.
This is the real devil at the crossroads moment. Dorian makes this compelling argument for authoritarianism. He says the world is chaotic, messy, and stupid. He believes that men of superior intellect, like him, and apparently like Leo, have a duty to control it, to herd the sheep.
It's gotta be tempting. Leo is an artist of manipulation. Dorian is offering him the ultimate studio. But he looks at the crystal, and he thinks about the dry sector. He thinks about the Rustin job.
And he says some things shouldn't be controlled.
That's the philosophical break. He rejects the hierarchy. He chooses chaos, or, well, freedom. He grabs the crystal and bolts.
The escape is just pure kinetic energy. He's in the vents, sliding down shafts, and this is where the team coordination really pays off. He bumps into Benny in a service corridor for maybe half a second.
The handoff, the classic switch.
The real crystal goes down a garbage chute to Sasha, who's waiting in a boat. Leo keeps a replica. And this is the part that proves he's not just a thief. He stops running.
He lets himself be caught.
He has to. He needs to buy time for Sasha to get away, but he also needs to close the loop with Elena. He's dragged back to the foyer, bruised, holding this fake crystal. And Elena is there, watching the man she thought was her husband get exposed as a total fraud.
The apology he gives her is just 2 words, I'm sorry. And the text makes a point that this isn't Alexei speaking. It's Leo. It's the first honest thing he said to her.
But Dorian thinks he's won. He throws Leo in a cell. He recovers the crystal. He has the thief in the loot. He thinks order has been restored.
Which sets up the climax a week later, the press conference. Dorian is on stage, ready to change the world, but on his terms.
Right.
He pushes the button to activate the KVX, and nothing. It's dead glass.
And while he's just standing there, failing, the giant screen behind him gets hacked.
It's Leo Vance. But he's not in a cell. He's in a pre-recorded video looking shark sitting in a study somewhere.
And he just drops the hammer. He doesn't just admit to the theft. He reveals the patent.
So this is the brilliance of the scheme. They didn't steal the crystal to sell it on the black market. Sasha Reed filed the patent and immediately released it to the public domain. Open source.
Progress is a river. You can't own a river. That's the line.
It's an economic assassination. By making the tech free for everyone, universities, governments, startups, he completely destroys its monetary value to Dorian. You can't hold the world ransom with something everyone has the recipe for.
It destroys his leverage completely. And the best detail, Leo is watching this whole broadcast from his prison cell. The guards are watching it too.
And what do the guards do?
They leave the door unlocked.
That gave me chills. It's such a subtle shift. The guards realize that their paycheck from Dorian is worthless compared to the future Leo just unlocked for everyone. The legitimacy of the spire just evaporates in that moment.
It shows that power is a construct. It relies on everyone agreeing that you're in charge. Once that narrative shifts, the locks just stop working.
So Leo just walks out, a free man. We get to the resolution at a cafe by a canal. The team is there, Sasha is there, and we see the immediate impact. There's a kid nearby unrolling a flexible solar panel based on the new schematics. The world is changing in real time.
But the story doesn't let Leo off the hook entirely. He still has to face the music. Elena shows up at the cafe.
I was expecting her to bring the police. Or at least a weapon.
She brings either. She just sits down. It's a very quiet, very adult scene. She acknowledges the cruelty of what he did. He broke her heart twice. Once by impersonating the dead, and then again by revealing the lie.
But she also admits that the truth, as brutal as it was, it liberated her.
She was a prisoner of the spire, too. A prisoner of her father's control and her husband's memory. Leo shattered the glass.
She asks him for the one thing he hasn't given her, the truth. Start with who you really are.
And he finally drops the mask. I'm Leo Vance. It just ends there. No romance, no handcuffs, just recognition.
It's a fitting end. The gentleman thief archetype is usually about style, about the caper. But this story suggests the ultimate heist isn't taking things, it's about redistributing them.
Redistributing power.
Exactly. Leo Vance saw this bottleneck in human progress. One man holding back the river, and he dynamited the dam.
It makes you look at the concept of open source differently. Usually, we think of it as software code. Here it's treated as a moral imperative, a weapon against tyranny.
It validates the idea that secrecy is the tool of the oppressor, and transparency is the tool of the liberator. Dorian wanted to build a higher tower. Leo wanted to flood the streets with light.
And clearly, the people of Veridia preferred the light. It's a story that reminds us that sometimes you have to lie to everyone you meet to tell the ultimate truth to the world.
And that the most valuable things, like energy or freedom, they lose their value the moment you try to lock them up. I'm going to be thinking about that river analogy for a while.
It certainly reframes the way we look at ownership, a reminder that we're all downstream.
Please note that all names used in this story are fictional.
Yeah.
Any resemblance to real individuals is purely coincidental. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next episode of Neverland Syndrome.